So Wednesday Addams obviously comes from a family that is a bit off kilter, although they are loving, and she was bullied from an early age for being different. And this led to some very obvious formative trauma and a little bit of PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, especially when we consider an incident that she tells people about in the series, the new series Wednesday, where a bunch of boys held her back while they killed her beloved pet scorpion. Now, this either caused or reinforced that Wednesday would become an extreme introvert. And Wednesday doesn't really trust anyone. Thus, she limits her contact with people, she limits her interactions. At Nevermore, her school, Wednesday is an outcast among outcasts. Even in a place filled with them, she's gotta be even further down the outcast spectrum. And speaking of spectrums, it's highly likely that Wednesday also has some variation of autism. She may also suffer from antisocial personality disorder, which is usually marked by a lack of empathy, total disregard for social norms, rules, and a very flat affect and disinterest in connecting or being able to read social cues or others. If this all sounds like Wednesday, that's because it's all part of who she is. It's in the stew of her personality. And while she's a little young for some of these formal diagnoses, and I'm not actually a psychiatrist or a psychologist, we get the sense that this combination of things is brewing for Wednesday in such a way that it's creating some serious character flaws and dynamics. Her deep levels of distrust extend all the way to just leaving her family completely. And again, these are people who are outcasts, kind of like her, and who obviously love her. So despite all these potential psychological struggles that Wednesday faces, she carries herself with an admirable level of confidence. She never compares herself to others in a negative way. She just kind of assumes that she's fine, that she's better, that she's superior. And while that's a little annoying maybe, and a little off-putting in some ways, it allows her to be fully realized and fully self-confident, and in that way kind of inspiring to audiences and viewers alike, regardless of what other people think of her. And she embraces her talents, like her cello playing. And she's quick to get back up and keep going when things knock her down. All of these are admirable traits. On the other hand, Wednesday does some pretty dark things, even for a character embedded in a pretty dark world. She's willing to sacrifice her friends for her own benefit, or things that interest or intrigue her. Her value of other human life is, let's just say, pretty low. So her isolation and her lack of trust for others leads to selfish choices, and it certainly makes her less sympathetic and creates a major character flaw and challenge for her to confront. So despite being saddled with a number of obvious issues that prevent her from being normal in normal interactions, Wednesday challenges herself to grow and face her issues and learn to trust the people in her life. She even develops some compassion for those who at one time she was so willing to sacrifice, like Tyler, Enid, and Thing, the Hand. Wednesday allows herself to display vulnerability with the other key characters. And that indicates some degree of growth, that maybe her hangups weren't some kind of insurmountable psychological obstacle or diagnosis, but tools of self-defense and protection, not disorders she had no control over or she needed major help to get through. Wednesday has the power to alter her interactions and behaviors, which indicates that she is someone wrestling mainly with some introversion, maybe a little PTSD, but it would be wrong to suggest that people who suffer from some of the disorders that Wednesday so obviously emulates the characteristics of are just a question of character growth away from changing. Wednesday is a character, and she is capable of growth because that's what stories do, whereas in real life, people who suffer from some of these disorders are not simply able to decide that it's time to change and be a slightly different person who responds to things and inputs in the world around them differently. Wednesday clearly is choosing some of these patterns and behaviors for specific reasons, like self-defense or protection against being hurt or abandoned or bullied. That's all we got for today. That's the analysis of the character of Wednesday in 6 minutes or less. And we're doing this with characters every week. Be sure to check back for more. Hit that like, subscribe, rate, leave a comment, do all that great stuff, and let us know what you think. And thanks so much for watching.